Welcome, everyone. This is Liz from Knowledge Return. This is a space where we talk about energy and spirituality as a part of our normal everyday experience. We share life lessons, spiritual journeys, and self-reflection as a way to give examples of how energy and spirituality shows up in our life. And today I'm going to share some personal information as we reflect on the topic of today. I'm one of those people who likes to meditate. It's calming and a useful tool. I meditate for different reasons. I meditate to calm my mind. I meditate to get clarity on things in my life. I meditate to learn from within. I meditate to create, plan, and organize from within as well before I implement. It is a great tool that helps me understand what the top concerns or thoughts are on my mind. When I just relax and try to clear my mind and certain thoughts surface to the top, I don't always push them away. I actually explore, why am I thinking about it? Why do I feel a certain way about a situation that I'm now thinking about that I recently experienced? This time, my thoughts centered around an interaction I had with my teenage son, where there are times I just don't feel that I'm able to communicate effectively with him. He's at that age where I mostly get grunts and one-word responses. And then a thought washed over me that I'm better at teaching and guiding than I am at mothering. When I thought about that, the word roles, R-O-L-E-S, surfaced. And that's what I'm going to address today. So what is a role? The dictionary version states it's a function assumed or part played by a person or thing in a particular situation. Yes, it seems similar to an actor playing a character, but that's exactly what it is. Someone playing a character's part. However, we are so limited and constrained in our beliefs that we believe there is defined rule-based set of items that define roles that we experience in our own lives, our own daily lives. Even in our paying jobs, we just fulfill a role. Oftentimes we are hired for a role and we're doing something completely different than the role we were hired for. And some people, like myself, take on roles as suggestions of tasks. I view it this way because oftentimes I will go above and beyond. Yeah, I'm that person. And that's just the way it is. That's how I'm built. There are others who will follow the job role to a T and stay within what is described as this task to take on. And then we have others who are just like in the first description, who will take the role as a suggestion, but will do less than the bare minimum. In the end, the person who takes on the job role plays it out. In the workplace, sometimes that may or may not be beneficial to the company, but that's another story. Now, coming back to social roles like parents, mothers, fathers, we can look at it in the same way. Regardless if somehow society has come up with a list of tasks that define the role of mother or father, the fact that we are uniquely ourselves sets the stage on how we play out the role when we are in it. So I'm going to share a personal story that helped me redefine a role. For the longest time, starting when I finally was alone with my infant son after he was in the NICU, the neonatal intensive care unit, for 6 weeks, I struggled with what it meant to be a mother. My experience of mothers came from the ones that were around me. I pulled in experiences from my mother, who had passed by the time I had my son. So I was going off my memory of the experience of motherhood. My mother was a happy-go-lucky type of person. She loved being around children because she said it made her feel young by challenging her and the use of their imagination. My mom was the mom's mom. We had so many neighborhood kids that were in and out of our home, to the point they gave her a nickname, Dida. Now, I don't remember how that name came about. It probably started from her taking care and helping to raise the child of a neighborhood teenager who really needed that help. And so she wasn't a foster mom in the legal sense, but she was a foster mom. She was a very loving, affectionate, and caring person. She was charismatic and fierce when she needed to be. She was not afraid to stand up for what was right and stand with you. So this was my memory of my mother. And I just felt so inadequate to the thought that I could not live up to this example of a mother. I was actually depressed and I crashed out. Fortunately, I had a trusted friend that I confided in and let them know how I felt. That conversation actually helped me look at motherhood from a different perspective. It helped me to reshape and redefine my role as a mother. My friend reminded me that I was a nurturing and caring person. I had helped to take care of her children by teaching them, guiding them, and introducing them to new experiences. She reminded me of who I was, not in the role of a mother, but how I was existing as a human. She reminded me to be who I already am. Do the things I know how to do and just don't drop the baby. Too late. Accidentally dropped him, but don't worry, he's fine. As simple as it was, it got me out of my funk. I stopped looking at motherhood from the example of my mother and started just being myself. Whatever I wanted to do and I didn't know, I learned, I taught, I guided and nurtured him in the way that I knew how to do. Now, I'm not that lovey-dovey, affectionate type of person, but I know he knows that I love him based on how I care for him, support him, and lift him up. And yes, I do tell him I love him just in case he doesn't, or just in case he needs that verbal reminder. However, it took me shattering the definition of the role of mother that was in my head in order for me to actually take on the role and make it my own. I share all of this to say that the roles that we take on in our lives can be limiting and constraining if we let someone who doesn't know us define the role. We will not live up to the expectation that others who do not know us that have defined that role. However, we need to understand that we have more control and options than we exercise in our own lives. It is us who is playing the character in a role. We need to know our strengths and weaknesses. We have to know that we do not have to be defined by our parents or the ways of the past if it does not help us be the best versions of ourselves. We have to know We can define and redefine the character role we play to fit our unique abilities. We have to know what it means to know ourselves and express authentic versions of ourselves. We have to feel okay to be comfortable in our skin. We have to know it's okay to let go of the ways, the ideas, the memories that do not benefit us. And if we're partnering with someone else, we have to be okay to share those views with the understanding that that person that we may care for may not care for those views. And believe it or not, this is actually a good thing if we think about it. We can then better align ourselves with the people who share in our thoughts when we are open and vulnerable and courageous to share them. Otherwise, we will ultimately find ourselves in misaligned, contentious situations or depressed and upset. Again, we have to be vulnerable and courageous because it may be the case that the partners we may want are not the partners for us, and we have to be okay with that. The expectation of living a role that someone else has defined for you can be very overwhelming. So let go of the definition of roles that someone else who doesn't know you and has defined that role for you. And know yourself. Be honest with yourself. And be yourself.